Hi, I'm Chad.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is Success with Chad and Kelly.
Today we're tackling humility, specifically how it works in the workplace.
Interesting choice, right. Most people think humility means getting trampled at work.
Exactly. But we've got a whole stack of articles here saying it's actually the opposite. Like, humility can be your secret weapon to get ahead.
That's what they're claiming. They dive deep into, the psychology of it all.
Okay, color me intrigued.
So they're saying true humility, the kind that makes you successful, it actually comes from a place of real confidence.
Hold on. How does admitting you don't know something translate to confidence?
Okay, think of it this way. Someone who's sure of themselves, they're not threatened by not knowing everything. They're okay with asking questions, saying, hey, I'm not sure about this, but I want to learn.
So you're saying it's kind of brave to admit your vulnerabilities?
Exactly. It shows you'd rather grow than just look good.
Yeah.
In fact, one article, I think it's from UC, they found that teams with humble leaders were way more open to sharing information and admitting mistakes.
Huh.
And get this, that openness, that psychological safety they called it, it actually boosted their project success rates by 20%.
20%. Okay, now you've got my attention.
Right.
But how does this play out for individual career growth? I saw something about mentorship magic in these articles.
Oh yeah, mentorship, the perfect example of how humility can boost your career. Now you might be thinking, who has time for mentoring when you're swamped already?
Yeah.
But here's the cool part.
I'm listening.
When you mentor someone, you're not just being a nice person, right? You're showing everyone you're an expert, someone worth listening to. And that, my friend, is valuable in any workplace.
So it's about more than just helping someone out. It's about building your own reputation as a leader.
You got it. And there's research to back it up. One Harvard Business Review article, it said people who mentored others were, get this, 2.5 times more likely to get promoted within 2 years. It's like, as you help others climb, you climb too.
Strategic humility, I like it. It's about realizing that helping others actually helps everyone, yourself included. But how do you actually become more humble at work, especially when everyone's so competitive, you know?
That's the million-dollar question. Luckily, these articles have some pretty practical tips. One of them breaks down 6 specific strategies for being more humble every single day at work. And you don't even have to sacrifice getting credit for your work.
All right, let's hear them. What's the first one? I'm taking notes here.
Okay, so the first strategy, it might sound a little weird, especially at work, but be ready to ask questions. And not just any questions, like questions that show you're really curious and want to learn from others. Doesn't matter if they're the CEO or just started yesterday.
You know, I've totally been in those meetings where no one wants to be the one to say they don't get it.
Right. And that's all ego, not real confidence. One article, they had this example. Say you're in a meeting, and there's this super technical thing, and you're lost. Instead of pretending, just say, I'm not really up on that. Could you explain how it affects us? That way, everyone's on the same page.
Makes sense. Creates that safe space so people can actually learn.
Exactly. Which brings us to number 2, be generous with what you know. Don't try to hold on to info like it's some secret weapon.
So it's not enough to just ask. Got to be ready to answer, too.
Yep. And do it like you're sharing, not showing off. Because real humility, it means knowing everyone has something to offer, no matter what their job title is.
Gotcha. Ask questions, share what you know. What's next on the humility checklist?
This one can be tough. Be open to feedback, even if it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Ugh. Yeah, that's always a bit scary. No one likes hearing what they need to work on, right?
True, but it's how you grow. Plus, when you ask for feedback, you're showing you want to improve. That says a lot about you, in a good way.
Shows you're not afraid to learn and get better.
Exactly. And it helps create this environment where everyone's cool with giving and getting constructive criticism.
Okay, so we've got asking questions, sharing, and being open to feedback. What are the last 3 things we can do to be more humble at work?
Number 4, celebrate other people's wins. Don't try to make it about you or steal their spotlight. Like, be their biggest fan.
This kind of goes back to what you were saying before about companies building a culture of humility. It's
Right.
got to be everyone, not just the people at the top.
Absolutely. It starts with the leaders, but it's got to go everywhere. Companies need to build humility into their systems.
How do they actually do that? Like, how can you make humility part of a company's DNA?
Well, one way is to look at humility during performance reviews. Don't just focus on what someone achieved, but also on how they showed humility.
So did they try to see things from other people's perspectives, give credit to others, mentor their colleagues?
Yeah. Imagine if those things mattered as much as hitting your sales targets. It would totally change things.
It would make for a much better work environment, that's for sure. What's the fifth strategy? How else can we practice humility every day?
This one's easy but important. Treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are. The intern deserves the same respect as the CEO.
It's about recognizing that everyone matters, regardless of their job title.
Right. And that reminds me, one of the articles talked about cultural humility, being aware of our own biases.
So, like, understanding that our way of doing things isn't the only way.
Exactly. And that leads to the sixth strategy, which is to be a good listener. Really listen, not just wait for your turn to talk. Ask questions. Be present in the conversation.
So important, and something I think we all need to work on, even outside of work.
Totally. Listening shows you care about what the other person has to say and that you're open to learning from them.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on humility, especially at work. But before we finish up, I'm curious about this cultural humility thing you mentioned. It feels like it goes beyond just knowing about other cultures. It's like realizing that we all see the world through our own lens, and that lens isn't always perfect, you know?
That's a great way to put it. Cultural humility helps us question our assumptions, to be open to the idea that our way of doing things, or even just seeing the world, isn't the only right way.
So how does this work in the workplace? Got any examples?
Sure, imagine a team that's really struggling with a project. Lots of disagreements, missed deadlines, everyone's stressed. A leader who's, let's say, not so high on the cultural humility scale, they might just push harder with their own way of doing things, assuming it's the best way.
And the culturally humble leader would.
They'd hit pause and try to understand where their team is coming from. Maybe there are cultural differences in how people communicate or solve problems that are causing issues. By recognizing these differences and being flexible with their leadership, they can create a more cohesive and productive team.
So it's about meeting people where they are, culturally, not trying to force them into your box.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we've been talking about with humility. Open communication, listening to understand, and valuing everyone's input.
It's about building a space where everyone feels included and respected for who they are.
Absolutely. And that means constantly checking our own biases and being open to learning. It's a journey, not a destination.
This deep dive has been amazing. It's so clear that humility can be a real game changer, not just in our careers, but in life overall.
I agree. It's about approaching everything with curiosity, empathy, and a real desire to learn and grow with others.
If I'm taking one thing away from today, it's that humility isn't about making yourself small so others can feel big. It's about understanding we all have something to offer, and that by helping each other, we all win.
Perfectly said. And hey, maybe by embracing these ideas, you can start a ripple effect of humility in your own workplace.
Now that's something to strive for. If you want to reach your full potential, both personally and professionally, don't underestimate the power of humility. Thanks for exploring this with us today, and until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.